Hi, I'm Kat and I write under the pen name Reid. I wanted to do my second video blog on my writing goals for 2020. Camera on my phone is really silly and just occasionally decides it's not actually going to save my videos, so I am having to turn it again to make sure that everything's getting captured properly, so things are probably going to shift and be weird. I'm sorry. Time I was using my selfie camera so I could sort of monitor that without messing with the camera too much, but I wanted to use my rear-facing camera this time because I got a package from an author friend that I'm really excited about and I want to share with you guys before we get into the 2020 writer goals. So, before we get into the author goals of 2020, check these out. These are the UA classified files novellas by Derek Borne, who I consider to be a very good friend of mine. I've been reviewing his titles for a long time. I used to do book reviews for Post-Apocalyptic Playground, which is now Pinot's and paperback. I suppose I should hold them like this so you can actually see the whole thing. He sent me these collector's editions. I think they're so cool. This series is a lot of fun to read. It's clean, young adult fiction. It's superhero books. It's kind of like he took comic books and put them into novel format, which I just thought was a lot of fun. And I would totally recommend these and the Ultimate Agent series books 1 and 2 for younger readers, especially younger boy readers, which I don't feel like they have a lot of books that are geared towards them. And he's all the way in Canada. I am on East Coast US. He's all the way in Canada. It was not cheap to ship these to me, and he did it it was a surprise. It was out of the kindness of his own heart. He even sent this cute little dossier secret agent letter for me. I just thought it was really awesome. I wanted to give him a shout out on my channel because it was really special. It made me feel really great. It's one of those things, one of those weird things that makes you feel validated. I loved it. I loved it. It put a huge smile on my face. Now that part's done. Writing goals. I will say, first of all, I am really bad about setting my bar too high. I have this saying that my husband and I have to repeat to myself a lot, and that is, check your ambition. Kat, check your ambition because you're setting that goal too high, and I don't deal well with not meeting my goals, so I have to really balance that. It has to be achievable for me so I don't get discouraged, but at the same time, if I'm not achieving high enough, then I don't feel like I'm doing enough, so then I get discouraged. I'm really complicated about like where I had to. Next time I'll have to put some tape down on the table or something so I can look a little more professional. Okay, first big writing goal is to get the third anthology finished that Lindsay France and Michelle Wilson and I are working on. The third anthology is going to be the second installment in our Hidden Worlds anthology series. The first anthology that all three of us worked together on was the second in the Last Words anthology series. The second book in that series was called When You Play with Magic. It was a lot of fun to put together. It was a collaborative effort between us and 4 other authors. It's a concept that was Katie Webb's. She was not able to participate in this anthology, but she is sort of the owner of the whole thing, and we had a lot of fun putting this together while she had to be on hiatus. The first installment of our anthology series was Ever After Again. It was a series of fairy tale retellings. It was kind of a way for Michelle to get a practice run on how to put a book together for her publishing company, Tulip Poplar Publications. Lindsay and Michelle and I all had a ton of fun putting this together. And now, later in 2020, we are going to release our second installment in that anthology series, and my first big writing goal for 2020 is to get the rest of my stories knocked out for that so that we can start the editing process and the formatting and all the things that you have to do to get a book together. So next big writing goals are, I have 3 different ones that I don't have a timeline for yet, but I know that I want to get them done this year. So I have one manuscript that it was my first manuscript I ever drafted, and I didn't like it. I discovery wrote the whole thing. It was awful once I got to the end. It needs a lot of work, and I would like to see that workshopped and put back into the hands of some critique partners and see if I can polish it up enough to actually try to publish it. Now, I'm not super stressing about that one because I know most first books don't get published, but it's just sort of this, you know, I put the work into it. I might as well see if I can clean it up enough instead of just throwing it into the shredder. It's not a priority though, so that will probably happen later on in 2020. So the other really big thing that I want to get done in 2020 is I have a second manuscript that I'm a lot more excited about. I feel that I'm doing better with it than I did my first one, and I would like to see that at least mostly drafted by the end of 2020. My final big goal for 2020 is I think I'm going to start trying to maybe get my feet wet with some self-publishing and do a few standalone novellas, just some things I can put out there and say, what do you think? Can I get some feedback from readers? Mostly I want to have these things out there so that I can work my writing muscles, make sure I'm continuing to feel like I'm making forward progression in this ridiculously difficult career of trying to become an author. Now, that's a lot. It's a lot. It's going to be a lot of work. I think I can do it if I stay at least fairly consistent, and if I make sure that I'm making my writing time a priority. I think I can get it done. Like I said in my last video, I am an author mom, so things just sort of happen. You'll notice I'm not nearly as put together in this video as I was in my last one. Let's just say life happened real hard for a second, and it's gonna happen that way. It feels like that's gonna be the kind of year it is, so we're just gonna go into it and I'm gonna see what I can accomplish. If you're a writer, I want to know, what are your writing goals for this year? What big things are you trying to accomplish? What are you proud of for accomplishing last year? And let's talk about some books too. What are you reading? What kinds of books do you want to read in 2020? The next video I think is just going to be my January TBR, which I know is more of a booktube thing. I think it's Stephen King though that says if you can't make time to read, then you're not making time to write either, or something like that. Some facsimile of that advice. I hold that very near and dear. I try to read just as much as I write, so I think that we're just gonna go with it and see how it works. So drop down in the comments too, what do you want to read this year? What books are you excited about seeing coming out? What do you want to do in 2020? Thanks for watching my channel. Thanks for bearing with me while I figure out all this newbie stuff. I really appreciate it, and I hope that your January has been awesome so far.